sympathetic zombie protagonist, a stumbling evolution. This presentation will be dedicated to tracing an evolution of the zombie, from mindless, nameless, hunger-driven hordes to the sentient, individualized, sympathetic zombie protagonist, or SZP for short. Originating in Haiti, where it emerged from the commingling of folklore with voodoo practices, a zombie was someone who was bewitched by a voodoo shaman to carry out forced labor or perform nefarious deeds. In 1929, American writer William Seabrook documents his travels to Haiti in the book The Magic Island, generating U.S. interest in voodoo and inspiring what is regarded as the first zombie film, White Zombie, in 1932, among others. So in its inception, the zombie represents the deprivation of one's autonomy for another's exploitative gain. It projects a fear inextricably tied to the realities of enslavement and loss of one's will, the fear of becoming a zombie and not necessarily fear of zombies. Arguably the most impactful contribution to the zombie genre was George Romero's Dead series, including but not limited to Night of the Living Dead in 1968, which, fun fact, was filmed right outside Pittsburgh and premiered in Pittsburgh, and later Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. So these films reimagined zombies as reanimated corpses driven by their own hunger as opposed to the will of another person, and also introduced the tropes of infection, plague, and flesh eating that are so ubiquitous today. Even with slight variations over time, like whether the zombies are fast or slow, whether they eat brains or flesh, on the whole, classic zombies share these standard characteristics: non-sentience, threatening antagonism, and lack of differentiation or individualization. However, somewhere along the line emerged a zombie that resembles humans much more than their classic counterpart. So where did they come from? Well, we can trace sympathetic portrayals of nonverbal zombies as far back as the character Bub from Romero's Day of the Dead or Big Daddy from Land of the Dead. But these new zombies are true protagonists and the heroes of their own stories, like R from the rom-com Warm Bodies. They display signs of rich inner lives. They speak eloquently, feel deeply, and some of them, like Liv Moore from TV's iZombie, are even gainfully employed. While we can speculate at length about why the zombie has developed in this direction and whether this is for better or worse, it is a no-brainer that contemporary zombie studies must face this new zombie head-on. Thank you. So what's the significance of this new crop of zombies and why should we care? Well, if you're an academic or a zombie purist, you might take issue with how far the SCP stretches the parameters of the zombie, arguing that, well, an SCP is by definition not really a zombie. On the other hand, you might welcome this evolution since, hey, it's interesting, and strictly speaking, the classic Romero zombie is not really a zombie either. If you're a cynic or a Marxist, you might think that the SCP is merely a way of capitalizing on the massive popularity of zombie culture, which is a phenomenon that warrants an entire conversation unto itself. Or if you're a monster theorist like me, you might be interested by the larger cultural shift in prevailing attitudes toward monstrosity that this all seems to indicate. Are we witnessing a reversal of the usual trend of demonization and entering into a zeitgeist, a frightgeist, if you will, where we see monsters as misunderstood, victimized, and even lovable? Looking forward, I think that we can expect to see more narratives that challenge the dichotomy of human good, monster bad, and zombie narratives in particular, because of how they have always been such great canvases for social allegory and critique, will now be prime sites to explore the experiences of systematically oppressed and marginalized persons from within. Already, from left to right, we can see critical explorations of gender norms and the nuclear family in Santa Clarita Diet, homophobia in The Flesh, and a, might I say, truly badass denouncement of the anthropocentric, white supremacist, carceral state in The Girl with All the Gifts. Furthermore, this might help combat the tendency to use zombie culture as a form of fun but uncritical escapism, where we forget that the zombie is fundamentally rooted in the real-life horrors of dehumanization. Thus, SCP narratives better position us to remember the legacies of subordination that we inherit in the present. Thank you.